everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Jennifer. In this video, I'll be showing you how to assemble the Skil router table. The model number is SRT 1039. I got this product through the Lowe's affiliate program, as well as the router that's recommended to use with this table. The model number for the router is RT 1323-00. So if you haven't shopped at Lowe's recently, it's gotten super convenient. I utilized the website and chose the option to pick it up in person. All you do is pull into a spot and text the associate when you get there, and they bring it right out to you. So first, I'm going to briefly go over some of the information on the box, then take everything out where I can see the parts, and then I'll walk you through each step. Here's a look at the information on some of the features you can expect with this table. There are 2 featherboards included. You can adjust the bit from above the table. The top is laminated. The mounting plate is universal to work with other router brands and mounts quickly, and there is bit storage on each side. The manual is right on top of the box, so make sure you look it over, as I won't be covering every aspect of this table. The parts list is on page 12, and the instructions begin on page 15 if you need to reference anything in writing. The contents are packaged well. I don't see damage to anything. I like laying all of the pieces out where I can clearly see them. There is a small baggie with a 5mm combination wrench and a few loose pieces, so make sure that doesn't get tossed out with some of the packaging material. You'll find the miter gauge, featherboards, and storage shelves inside a smaller box. It looks like all of the parts are accounted for, and I can start putting it together. The first thing you want to do is place the router table upside down on a flat, level surface, preferably one that isn't scratchy, as it might damage the laminate top. The table already has 6 hex socket bolts that are pre-installed on the table base to attach the 2 table legs. Loosen them, then take one table leg with the storage latch open and facing the front, then lower it onto the table base. Make sure that 2 bolts are inserted through the 2 keyholes in the storage toolbox. Push the leg towards the center of the table until the 3rd bolt is inserted into the slot at the center of the inner side of the leg. At the same time, make sure that the tongue of the switch mounting plate fits into the slot of the leg. Tighten the 3 securing bolts with the included 5mm combination wrench until snug. Be careful not to overdo it. Repeat those steps again with the other table leg. Remember, the opening direction of both toolboxes should be on the same side as the integrated safety switch. I want to point out a couple observations and features before I move on. The first is about the storage area in the legs. There are 2 shelves that come with this set, and they can be moved around as there's an upper and lower groove on each side. You could put them both on one side or one on each side. As you can see, the shelves have little grooves and holes that are perfect for storing bits and extra accessories, or you have the option to hang the featherboards from the little plastic pins at the top of each storage area. Also, the screws in the miter slot protrude. They aren't recessed, which is not a problem if you use the miter gauge that comes with a table, but if you use a different one with a flat bottom, it would hit into those screws. Speaking of the miter gauge, there's storage for it on either leg underneath the table. Okay, back to assembly. This table includes a quick clamp router mounting system, which has been pre-installed at the factory prior to shipment. Here's how you remove it. Using the included 5mm combination wrench, loosen and remove the 4 Phillips screws which secure the mounting plate to the table. Make sure you hang onto the screws and put them in a safe spot. Place the router table assembly upside down on a flat, level surface once again. Push the clamp handle to open the router release mechanism. Lift up on the mounting plate to remove it from the table base. Then place the router upside down so it's resting on its top cap. Next, remove the plastic subbase from your router by removing the 3 screws using the included 5mm combination wrench. I actually had to use a drill to get them started because they were on there so tight I couldn't get them to budge with just the wrench alone. Again, keep the 3 screws in a safe place because you will need them in just a minute. Align the 3 mounting plate holes with the router base holes. There are little identification marks on the plate, and a word of caution, they will line up in other positions besides the correct one. Also, make sure to align the depth adjustment rod on the router with the depth adjustment hole on the mounting plate. Securely mount the plate to your router using the 3 screws we just saved. If you want to use a vacuum during your work, this is a convenient time to install the vacuum adapter on the router. Next, align the notches on the mounting plate with the table base and insert the edge under the pressing plate on the table base. Lower the router until the clamp handle snaps into place. This is actually the correct position, although I was honestly a little confused why the dust port adapter seemed to point directly into the power strip. I called Skil's customer service number and verified this is right. More on that in a minute. Next, flip the table upright and reinsert the 4 screws we set aside earlier and tighten. This router table includes 3 insert rings with different opening diameters ranging from 11/16, 1 1/4, and 1 7/8 inches. They're meant to reduce the gap between the cutting diameter of the bit and table so that workpieces maintain full support of the table while routing. The proper size insert ring depends on the size and shape of the bit you're using. The insert ring opening should be within 1/4 inch of the outermost edge of the cutter. The sizes are marked on the back for your reference. There's also a starter pin, which is to be used for operations that involve routing curves with bits that have pilot bearings. All you do is screw the starter pin into the mounting base to attach it. Here's a look at the fence. It comes pre-assembled and is made of plastic, aluminum, and MDF. Here's the guard, and the dust port is on the back. You can either attach a 1 1/4 or 2.5 inch hose. The rep I spoke to at Skil suggested removing the clear plastic adapter from the router when using the dust port. If you keep the adapter on the router, attach a hose directly to it if you have enough room. I'm going to get a quick measurement of the table before I show you how to add the fence. It measures approximately 26 inches long, 15 3/4 inches wide, and 14 1/4 inches high, and it weighs 24 pounds. There are 2 knobs on the back side of the fence. Loosen but don't remove them, and drop the bolts into the keyholes, making sure the bolt heads are below the table and can slide freely. Use the scale on the tabletop as a guide when aligning the fence for routing operations. Once the fence is positioned and aligned correctly, tighten the fence assembly knobs until they are secure. The featherboards are marked to indicate the proper feed direction and come pre-assembled. Just loosen the clamping knobs from each bolt, but don't remove them. The featherboard for the fence attaches with the bolt heads, whereas the featherboard that goes on the tabletop has a slide bar. When you have them placed in the desired position, just tighten the knobs to secure them in place. You can also adjust the opening of the fence behind the bit to allow for dust collection as well as the outfeed fence. It can be adjusted up to 1/4 inch for joining operations so your workpiece is supported after passing the router bit. Just loosen the knobs on the back and move the fence forward to a distance equal to the width of the material to be removed, then secure the clamps in place. Before using the router table, make sure it's securely bolted to a sturdy surface using the 4 holes in the legs. For this demonstration, I'm using clamps because this is not the permanent location for my table. I think it goes without saying, but make sure you unplug your router before making any adjustments. You'll need to remove it from the fixed base underneath the table and loosen the nut by pressing the spindle lock button and turning the wrench counterclockwise. Since I have my first chosen bit in my hand, I'm double checking which insert ring looks to be the best option. My router comes with a 1/2 inch collet, so I'll need to use my bits with a 1/4 inch sleeve as well. After you have your bit inserted, back it out about 1/8 of an inch. Then press the spindle lock button again and tighten in a clockwise motion. This is one of those things you want to make sure it's tight enough, but don't over tighten it, and also never tighten it without a bit inserted. To put the router back into the fixed base, just line up the arrows on the tool. You can adjust the depth of the bit from below the table or from above using a 4mm hex wrench, which is not included. Just double check that everything is locked and clamped in place before using it, and it's really good practice to periodically check all of the fasteners as they can vibrate and loosen with use. In this next segment, I'm going to include clips of my first attempts at using my router table with various species of wood and bits. There's definitely a learning curve, and my initial try was pretty rough, but got better with each pass as I figured out the correct technique. In some cases, I needed to go in increments and not try to remove more than 1/8 of an inch at a time in deep cuts. And for wider cuts, I needed to move the fence backwards. Applying even pressure was very helpful too. There's a lot of information in the manual I didn't even get to go over, so please take a look, especially when it comes to safety guidelines. Most notably, always go in the direction of the cutter, never against it. Because the upside down bit is rotating in a counterclockwise motion, only feed the workpiece in like I'm demonstrating. Don't try to feed it in from the left side. Also, when making a side or edge cut, don't try to position your stock between the fence and cutter. When you're finished, don't forget to unplug it and remove the safety lock if necessary. The cord measures around 5 feet and has a Velcro strap for storage. The table rating is 120 volts, 60 hertz, and 15 amps. Overall, this is a good setup for a DIY hobbyist and woodworkers. I wouldn't necessarily recommend this for everyday use. I'd get a professional grade tool if you're in business, for example, but it's perfectly fine for the occasional project and ideal for someone like me who is learning and getting comfortable with a router table in general. So I hope this video was helpful. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions. This product does run in the $150 range for the table and $100 for the router. I will include any shopping links in the description for your convenience. Don't forget to like this video, and if it was helpful, subscribe to my channel to see future content. You can also find me, I'm on TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook as well. As always, I thank you for watching, and until next time, take care.